Hello and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is 10 a.m. here on the East Coast. Yes, this is Mr. BoomStick XL. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is a breaking news special. You are seeing what you're seeing. Obviously, yesterday was a bit of a hiccup where I didn't check the times and everyone thought I was going live at noon for primetime gaming. Of course, I apologize because that was a mistake on me. Today is not a mistake, ladies and gentlemen. Your regular schedule, 12 p.m. X Vlog Live with C Money and myself will be happening, of course, as usual at noon. But we are here to talk about the breaking news that just dropped. Of course, we got to give credit where credit is due. And the story originally broke from Tom Warren of The Verge. We have a full-on breakdown from Tom. We also have a list that I'm going to be reading verbatim regarding the price changes and the increases coming to the Xbox platform. Ladies and gentlemen, this is something I feel broadsided by this. If there was anyone that I thought would have jumped on this $80 game situation after Nintendo announced it during the Switch 2 reveal, I thought it would have been PlayStation, EA, 2K, or whatever. It turns out that Xbox, in fact, is one of the big three, the second of the big three, I should say, to raise their prices. And it wasn't just games, ladies and gentlemen. It is everything. We're going to break that down. So first of all, let me welcome in the 82 people that are here. This is an impromptu kind of a podcast. I want to thank everyone who always tunes in for these breaking news specials. Because again, without you, we don't have a show. I'd be literally talking to myself. And no, that's no fun. I did reach out to Fuzzy Belvedere to see if I can get him in here to get, a conversation going with me and him. I'm probably going to email the link to Hargeet. Hargeet, if you're listening, brother, you know what? I'll do that. Probably should have did that before I went live. It's just crazy. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. Now, look, obviously the show this afternoon with C Money isn't going to change. Xbox has become the number one platform for Q3 on PlayStation, as well as its own platform. And that's big news. Surprisingly, they went up in prices in areas where they are doing big numbers. If you look at the numbers that were posted by Derek Strickland, of course, of Tweaktown, he actually had posted the number of $5.7 billion that Xbox made in that Q3. As it stands right now, it is the biggest Q3 in the last 10 years, going all the way back to 2015. I showed you guys and gals the graph from last night. Wow. I don't even know what to say. I'm a bit flabbergasted. I did not expect Xbox to be the first one to do $80 games. That is happening. I have a theory. It's a theory that people are not going to like because no one likes being pushed, right? Like no one likes being forced to do things. But I think now more than ever, Xbox Game Pass is going to be the place that you're going to see people retreating to for a lot of reasons. Again, folks, the only thing that wasn't raised as of this morning at 10:03 has been Xbox Game Pass. Now, again, is it a rake stepping moment? We're going to get into it. But folks, I just want to let everyone kind of file in. We got up to 155 people watching live. Thank you so much. So I'm going to reach out to Hargeet and send him the link while I do this live on the air. So bear with me, folks. But yeah, thank you so much for checking out today's show. We super appreciate it. Again, folks, you're getting a double dose of Xbox news today because we're doing it live right now. And of course, C Money and I will be back at 12 o'clock to break down what's going on with the gains for Xbox. But of course, we're going to go and open back up with this because I really want to hear what C Money has to say. Because again, look, folks, I'm not defending this. I have smoke for Xbox because I don't think based on their gains that they need it. Personally, I mean, listen, what do I know? I'm not a business analyst. I would have honestly thought in my heart of hearts that Xbox would have been the last one to do it, simply because, well, they were the last one to raise the game prices, right? When the game prices went up to $69.99, they were one of the few that did it last. Now they are the first of all of the bigs. And when I say all the bigs, I'm talking about the EAs, I'm talking about the PlayStations, I'm talking about the 2Ks, I'm talking about the Ubisoft. Obviously, you've heard me say this before. I think Nintendo didn't just kick in the door; they knocked it off its hinges with $80 games. When that was announced, it really broadsided the industry. Obviously, I know that there's going to be some people, even including myself. I was thinking about it this morning. Are these tariffs responsible? And the answer is probably. The games, I'm not sure, but definitely the peripherals, definitely the consoles. But you know what? Listen, again, folks, I have the list in front of me, and you know what? Let's take a little bit a look into what Tom Warren had to say on his piece. Now, this story broke from TheVerge.com. It was written, of course, once again by Tom Warren. I will add this link in the show notes once I'm done with the show. So if you want to read the article for yourself, it's going to be in there. And of course, we here at Double Barrel Gaming pride ourselves of giving credit where credit is due. It's something that it's in our DNA. If you wrote the story, we're going to tell everyone about it. We're going to add it and going to pass the link along. So if anyone wants to read it, they can go and click on it because we're using it for our purposes. We want people to be able to at least find it if you're looking for it. So here's the headline story, ladies and gentlemen. It says Microsoft is raising prices on Xbox consoles, controllers, and games worldwide. And the story goes on to say new first-party Xbox games are moving from $69.99 to $79.99 later this year, but there is no Xbox Game Pass increase. So that's good to know. So the story goes on to say Microsoft is raising the prices of its Xbox Series S and X consoles, Xbox controllers, and even some new Xbox games around the world. Starting today, Microsoft says it has adjusted its recommended retail pricing for its Xbox consoles and controllers. The Xbox Series X being bumped up by $100, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, Jesus, that's not just a bump, man. That's a kick into the balls. Pardon my French. It's now going to cost any new Xbox owner $599. So it goes on to say Microsoft is also planning to adjust the pricing on some of its new first-party Xbox games this holiday season, upwards of $79.99. Microsoft's Xbox Series S 512 gigabyte model is moving from $299.99 to a retail price of $379.99, a price hike of $80. The Xbox Series S 1 terabyte model is moving from $429.99 to so it's moving to $429.99, and the Xbox Series X Digital Edition will now be priced at $549.99. Now check this out. This is where we get into PlayStation level. Holy shit. The 2 terabyte Galaxy Black Special Edition, which I bought for $599, and I got some nasty messages for that. Well, guess what, folks? It's going up to $729.90. Jesus. I don't even know what to say, ladies and gentlemen. These prices are insane. Now, again, I've seen some funny business with some people. Let's see, Mr. For Real 316. Welcome to the channel, brother. I've never seen the name before, so I'm happy to have you here. He says tariffs. And he's not wrong. Again, folks, I can't put the boomstick rubber stamp on games, because of tariffs. I know game design and development has gone up through the roof. There's no doubt about it. I mean, especially because they're paying for so many things. But look, folks, understand. Let's get this right out of the way. I cap for no one, especially a $3 trillion company. This is bad. This is bad this is bad from start to finish, from point to decimal. That's it. There's no other way around it. There is no capping here. This is gross. This is disturbing. This is upsetting. But I have some theories, folks. And, it's funny. One of the topics that I was going to cover with C Money this afternoon was I'm not a Reddit guy, right? Like I only read Reddit posts when someone like King Web, who's in the chat. So King Web, thank you so much for always sending me all these stuff. I mean, the DMs that I get from some people in here are astoundingly great. And he's always sending like Reddit stuff. Now, I don't, frequent Reddit myself, but when someone sends me something, of course, I give them credit and I read along. And what King Web has been sending me is a lot of posts from PlayStation players asking the question, and I don't think they were trolling, folks. I mean, we'll read it this afternoon verbatim, but there's a lot of questions that people are asking in regards to quality. Right now, this is something that you found being asked about Xbox and their games during like the 2018, 2019, 2021, 2020 kind of years where PlayStation was delivering like bangers. And again, like you've heard me say this before, folks. If these first party story driven adult theme over the shoulder games aren't your bag, I'm not going to fight you on it, folks, because not every game is for every gamer, but those games are for me. I like those games. They're movie-esque quality, and that's what I like about Sony. Now, they haven't done that in a while, and we know why. But during that time, a lot of people jumped on PlayStation 4 because they felt that the quality of those games were better. And honestly, I don't think that they were wrong for doing that. But now we are in 2025. And like I said, you heard me say this last night with Hargeet. Take this all the way back to 2023. Xbox has been delivering quality game after quality game after quality game. And again, just like PlayStation, maybe not every game is for you. And I understand that. But it's really, really disingenuous or hard to agree with anyone that's like, yeah, none of their games, they all suck. They're all mid. They're all this. They're all that. That's a false narrative. So Sony finds themselves in the same position. And now we're starting to see people on Reddit question whether or not they want to continue to play on PlayStation. One, because obviously they haven't put out a lot of quality stuff. It's been a lot of remasters, a lot of remakes, asking for upgrades for prices. When when a game is upgraded on Xbox, you get it for free. The upgrade is just there. It just works. Sony charges you money. But this is one of those situations, ladies and gentlemen, where I know it's a little bit long-winded. So sorry, I'm going to go back around over here, coming back to why I believe. I mean, first of all, for current Xbox users, what's going to hurt is someone like me. Like I buy a lot of controllers. I like controllers. I know I only have two hands. I get it, but I like special edition controllers. I like pairing a controller with a game I'm playing. Like I'm just a big nerd like that. I know who in the chat, raise your hand, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoy buying a wrap for your console or or the matching controller to play Doom. Is it stupid? Yeah, probably. Do you need it? No, you don't really need it. But is it fun? Is it nerdy? Yeah, freaking literally it is. So that's what we're doing here, right? We're a bunch of big, we're all nerds. So I like doing that. And unfortunately, it's going to hurt me in the pocket because you know what? Let me just, let me just let people file in before I start breaking down the other prices because, like I said, again, the story. Let me know what. Let's continue reading the story from Tom Warren because this is very interesting stuff here. So the article goes on to say, Xbox wireless controllers and headsets are also having their recommended retail price adjusted in the United States, with a base controller moving to $64.99, so $65, $70 after tax. The Xbox wireless headset that was originally, I believe it was it like $100? It was like maybe was it $100? Maybe 109. It is now priced at $119.99. You can already find both of these accessories as the type of pricing right now. And it goes on. The article goes on to say, ladies and gentlemen, some new Xbox games are moving from $69.99 to $79.99 this holiday, in a move that matches the more expensive pricing of Nintendo's top Switch launch titles. Xbox Game Pass pricing will remain the same. And that is ultimately the saving grace for Xbox. So let's talk the UK, folks, because obviously we have a lot of people here that are our UK brothers and sisters. So we want to kind of get them, up to date with the information. Tom goes on to say the Xbox console and controller price increase will also impact European countries, including the UK, as well as markets like Australia. In Europe and the UK, the Xbox Series S, the 512 model, will now be priced at 349.99 pounds, with the Xbox Series X 1 terabyte being raised to 599.99 I would pounds or euros. Sony also increased the prices of its PlayStation 5 consoles in Europe and UK earlier this month. So obviously now Xbox, it was Sony that went first with the consoles in Europe. Well, now of course Xbox is following suit. And it goes on to say, and I'll just read the remainder of the article. It's just two paragraphs, folks. Tom goes on to say in his article, uh, Microsoft's last hiked price of the Xbox Series X console in June happened in June of 2023 as part of price increases that also impacted Xbox Game Pass at the time. The subscription service also saw a price increase last year alongside the launch of a new standard tier. The price rises come amid uncertainty over the Trump tariffs. And just a day after Microsoft's CEO Satya Nadella revealed that Microsoft ended the quarter as the top publisher by pre-order and pre-installs on both Xbox and PlayStation Store during the company's Q3 fiscal earnings call. Microsoft also saw PC Xbox Game Pass revenue increase by 45% year over year. So, well, there you have it, folks. That's the article from Tom Warren. Shout out for Tom consistently being tip of spear when it comes to these breaking news. I would imagine Jez Corden of Windows Central and the Xbox 2 podcast will have something. Tom Henderson, I would imagine, is going to be reporting on this as well. Shout out to Wario64 who broke down the pricing, but we also have a press statement from Microsoft, folks, that I want to read verbatim. Again, shout out to Wario64, prominent member of the Twitter community, and once again, always being on like one of the first to post everything. And this paragraph that I'm about to read to you, or this press statement from Xbox, was issued to IGN when they were originally reporting on this. And okay, I'm going to read verbatim, folks. So get ready. It says Microsoft issued IGN with the following statement as to why the price increases were taking place. And this is what it had to say. We understand that these changes are challenging and that they were made with careful consideration given market conditions and the rising cost of development. Looking ahead, we continue to focus on offering more ways to play more games across any screen and ensure value for our Xbox customers or players. I mean, I don't know, folks. I'm going to push back against this, as anyone who adults who or likes to who are forced to adulting, as the kids like to say. If you are paying your mortgage, if you're paying your car payment or your rent or your kid's school or buying groceries, one of the things that is the first to go in any household that is struggling, ladies and gentlemen, is entertainment. And I've said this before. I'm going to stand on this stone, and I'm going to give smoke to Microsoft for the price raising. I don't think after coming off of that best third quarter of the platform in the last decade that they needed to do this. And again, how does that affect me personally? Well, it affects me because I buy a lot of peripherals in the form of controllers. Um, but I am gonna, again, this is a double-sided coin. Now, the smoke is there, and I think anyone that is an Xbox fan, sh- we could understand this. We can sit back in our chair and be like, "Yeah, I get it," but do we like it? Was it necessary? Did it have to happen at this particular point in time? I don't have the answer to those questions. I'm not a reporter. I'm a silly podcaster that's been retired from the NYPD for a decade, and I do this for fun. And I'm going to try and get the answers. I'm going to try and reach out a couple of my sources, and I would imagine that some of the investigative reporters that are out there that I consider tip of spear, like Jez Gordon, like Tom Warren, like Tom Henderson, and so many others, are going to try and get these answers. The presser that I read to you is corporate bullshit. Sorry, it's just what it is. It's it's by the numbers. A paragraph that's what is it, 40 words, big deal. We understand this, and yeah, I'm sure you do, but I'm still going to give you smoke because you got to get the smoke. Sorry, I give PlayStation smoke. I gave Nintendo smoke, but I think, and again, folks, this is not me capping, folks. I always try to approach things from my glass being half filled rather than it being half empty. Now, is that a good way to think of life? Well, it's probably why I'm going to be 55 and I still look at least decently young. I don't get hung up on negativity because negativity is gross and it weighs me down. I dislike it a lot. Like I like being happy go lucky. For me, it's unicorns and rainbows all day long. I mean, is that a bad thing? I don't think so, but I enjoy it. Um, there is a silver lining to this conversation, but before we actually get to my point on that, I want to thank Random Citizen in the chat who drops a very generous $2 super chat. He goes on to say, thanks for the updates, Boom. Well, thank you so much for the generosity, brother, and thank you for being here as always. We certainly appreciate it. Random Citizen, who's been a channel member quietly for 16 months, says Game Pass is still the best deal in gaming. Yeah, indeed it is, and that's where I'm going to go next with this silver lining, so to speak. Random Citizen, thank you so much for the back end support with the channel membership. Mrs. Boom and I truly appreciate it, especially during these times, because again, nothing is guaranteed and we don't expect anything, but we are incredibly grateful for the support. Frost in the chat. Frost, what's going on, brother? Great to see you here. He drops a very generous $5 super chat. He says, I wouldn't be surprised if Game Pass goes up to 25 or 30 bucks. I mean, me either, but at least the thing that was clarified almost instantaneously by Tom Warren of The Verge was that Game Pass was not getting a price increase. Now, how long is that? I don't know. But here again, I have some theories, folks. So I'll get to that in a second. Otis Live 356. Otis, great to see you here, brother. And once again, thank you for the very generous $5 super chat. He says proof that Microsoft is full on in charge of Xbox. Indeed. Not that we needed more proof. LOL. Step on that rake. Yeah, I mean it's kind of rake stepping, but again. You know what? Let me just take a sip of water. I could feel getting slightly parched. I don't have the skills of Dirt Griggity or Mav, who just get on the mic and they do their thing. They're amazing. Sean is like that as well. He can get on the mic and just do his thing. I'm getting used to it. I prefer a partner or a panel so I can bounce off, thoughts and theories. But this is fine. This is the breaking news thing. This is going to go about maybe another 20 minutes or so. And then, of course, we'll be back here at 12 o'clock. And C-Money and I will break this down along with some of the big numbers that came out of yesterday's Q3, fiscal number situation with Xbox. But we have another super chat here. Comes the way of our good friends. Yeah, I just talked about you, King Web. Thank you so much for always, helping me out with the DMs and all of the posts. He says this after dropping a very generous $2 super chat. This is a play to funnel gamers into Game Pass. And I'm going to segue off of what King Web had to say. So here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. As of 10:24 a.m. on May 1st, we have learned that Xbox Game Pass, and let me bring up Wario 64's post if you're just having to tune in before we get into my rhetoric, raise prices on basically everything. I will do a quick replay or rundown. Once again, thanks to Wario 64 for putting this incredible post up so it's easy to digest and read, especially if you're podcasting. He goes on to say, going forward, here are the expected prices on various Xbox consoles and accessories here in the United States. The Xbox Series S 512 is going up to $379. The 1 terabyte Series S is going to $429.99. The Series X digital is now going to go up by $100. $100, Jesus Christ, that is a lot. $549.99. The Series X, with a disk drive in it, is going to be $600. And this is the jagged pill. This is the one that's hard to swallow. Pause. The 2 terabyte Galaxy Special Edition, folks, it went up $130. I mean, holy shit. Are we kidding me? $730 before tax. The Xbox wireless controller, the core, the regular black one, or I would imagine the white one, $64.99. Anything with a color, $70. Any special edition controller, $80. A wireless controller, the limited edition ones, up from $79.99 to now $90. Jesus Christ. The Xbox wireless controller series 2, the core, went up $10. It's now $150. The wireless controller full package deal went up $20 from $179.99. It is now $199.99. The Xbox stereo headset is now $65. And the wireless, and then the stereo headset is the one with the wire. The one without the wire, the wireless headset, is up $10 from $109.99 to $119.99. Well, there you go, folks. If you happen to be just tuning in, welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to hang out. We got 501 people here. I don't know if we have a lot of new viewers. I see a lot of names I'm not familiar with. I'm not sure if again, you might just be hanging out in the background. I've never seen your name in the chat. A little bit of breaking news from Mrs. Boom and I. We are 113 subscribers away from 16K, which is a big number for us. We've been stuck on kind of 15 and change since last year. And it's not because we're not growing. It's, just people feel like people don't want to hit the like button. People don't want to subscribe. I don't know why. But if you are enjoying the content, if you are someone that frequents the channel, help us out, man. Again, we helped Hargeek get to 1K. We've helped many other channels, small channels, get to the 1K and beyond. And if you're not a content creator, folks, maybe you can't equate the elation you have when you hit a certain number. For every 1,000 you go up, you get closer to another goal. 16K is great, but we ultimately want to hit 20, 25. Like, we want to get to that magic number. We've seen many of our peers that hit that, and we put the work in, folks. Again, we do this 5 days a week, and we do breaking news when it happens. Like, I skipped I'm going to work out later, but I was literally ready. I had everything set up, ready to go, and I saw the break news. I'm like, well, I can get to that later. I gotta be out here. So here I am. So again, if you are not already subscribed, please consider helping us get to 16K. That would be pretty dope. But okay, so here is the silver lining, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said with Nintendo, $80 games suck. What that's going to do for me, because I'm a Nintendo fan, and I'm when I say I'm a fan, folks, you can't see it because it's right here. Once we get a bigger place or our first home, I'll be able to have an actual studio. I'll build a studio where you can see all my stuff behind me. I have over 100 physical games. I'm a Nintendo kid. I've been a Nintendo kid since 1985 when I got the NES for my birthday. My 15th birthday, as a matter of fact. For Nintendo, unless it's a mainline, I'm probably not buying it. I'm not going to buy a Mario Golf at $80. I'm not going to buy a Mario Tennis at $80. I love those games. Those games are great. There's a new Mario Baseball supposedly coming out. If that joint's $80, well, I'm not buying it. I will not buy anything because that's ridiculous for that kind of pricing. So my silver lining here for Xbox, outside of me giving them major smoke for raising their prices, I think it's egregious in my opinion. Um, but here we are. It's band-aids off, folks. We're all upset. We're all disgusted. They just posted some big gains, almost 6 billion that they made in Q3, the most in the platform's 50 for the last 10 years. It's the best Q3 they've ever had. So it's hard not to get angry. It's hard not to be like, "Hey man, like what's the deal?" But if there is a silver lining for current Xbox consumers, it's the fact that the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate price was not raised. It's 20 bucks. It was raised last year during June, and it wasn't raised again. Now, last year when they did raise it, it was the anticipation of getting uh Black Ops 6 into Game Pass, which a lot of us honestly, like, I kind of knew it was going to happen, but I wasn't 100% because it's Black Ops, it's Call of Duty, right? And what wound up happening? It sold best on PlayStation, and it made a lot of money for Xbox. Um, but the silver lining here is that Xbox Game Pass was not raised. Now, how long is that going to be? Is that going to be for the remainder of 2025? Do we see an increase in 26? Does Xbox double down and keep pushing the value proposition of what Xbox Game Pass is doing? Well, look, again, I'm not a marketing manager, folks. I'm just a podcaster, but I'm going to give you my spiel. If I'm Xbox, they've already stepped on a major rake here by raising their prices. Now, of course, they're not the first, but it doesn't matter. They still raised their prices. Nintendo knocked the door off its hinges with $80 games, and all of their peripherals went up. Right? Everyone was pissed. That's why I'm not buying any of the peripherals. I bought a I pre-ordered a Pro controller, and that's it. I'm not buying any of the other stuff because I'm just not going to pay those prices. I'm not. I'm voting with my wallet, but I am going to buy some of the games, and it's going to be a couple of the main lines like Donkey Kong Bonanza, obviously Mario Kart. I'm getting with the console, so that's it, and I'm good. I'm good. But even though they're not the first to raise their prices, they still raise their prices, and again, I find it to be egregious. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna cap for this company. They're a $3 trillion company. I got to push back. But this again, sound like a repeated broken record. The silver lining here is the Game Pass is 20 bucks. And if I'm Xbox, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know who is now in charge of the campaign to push the envelope with Xbox Game Pass on its inherent value. I don't think I should have to do that. I mean, I don't get paid for it. I'm here for you guys, but Xbox includes me in events and stuff, but they're not paying me to talk about Game Pass. I'm here as a consumer like you. I'm here to tell you that if you don't have Xbox Game Pass, just based on what's happened in the last week, you got to get on that shit now. Not because they're going to potentially raise the price, but it's becoming unsustainable to be a gamer, especially a multi-plat gamer. If you are someone like me who games on all three mains and has no problem being excited and paying 70 bucks for Ghost of Yotai, which I am gladly gonna do when that comes out later this year. When Mario Kart, I told you I'm getting it through the console, so I'm technically paying 50 bucks rather than the 80. But I'm gonna buy Donkey Kong Bonanza at 70 bucks, and I'm gonna do it with a big smile on my face. The only thing I don't have to do though, and you don't have to do, ladies and gentlemen, is you don't have to buy the games outright on Xbox Game Pass because you can get it through the service. And if you have this FOMO, fear of missing out, if you don't know what that means, you can get the upgrade for most of their first party games. Most of them are 30 bucks. And some, like Claire Obscure Expedition 33, it was 10 bucks. South of Midnight, 10 bucks. At Dune the Dark Ages, 30 bucks. You're getting the $100 edition for the price of your service and 30 bucks for the upgrade. Hard to argue that, folks. Really, really hard to argue that. So now, where does this go in regards to getting new consumers to buy an Xbox? Well, I'm gonna be honest with you, folks. At these prices, they're ice skating uphill, in my opinion. I don't know how they're gonna. Again, the Xbox Play Anywhere situation. This is why they're doing it. I don't think the prices of the console should have. $100, $100 for the Series X. That is bonkers. We are always, all of us here. Again, I don't care if you've been gaming for 30 years or 40 years, or gaming for 3 months or 3 years. The thing that we know about consoles normally at this time in their lifespan, prices go down. Prices don't go up, and they've been going up consistently for all of the consoles, which is just freaking crazy. So again, the silver lining here is that you don't have to buy these games. You can get your games through Xbox Game Pass. And this is where I was saying earlier, where Xbox is literally pushing people into Xbox Game Pass, because at some point, right, you're going to look at a game that you're going to want to play, and honestly, it's at in the next couple of months, it's not going to matter whether it be PlayStation, whether it be Switch, whether it be Xbox, or you're buying a game from one of the big publishers, the EAs, the Take Twos, the Ubisofts, whatever. Everyone's going $80. That's it. Everyone's going $80 games. That is happening, ladies and gentlemen. So you're going to have to ask yourself, do you wait for a sale, which I think is going to become a normal thing now? A lot, and there are people right now. Again, we got almost over 550 people watching live. I'm sure there are people right now here like, boom, I don't buy a game until it's on sale. And you know what, madam or sir, good for you. That's how you beat the man. You vote with your wallet. For a lot of people, FOMO becomes a thing, and they want to be in on the conversation. They want to be playing with their friends online, so they buy the game. I think that these price increases is really gonna force consumers to do a couple of things. Consumers are not stupid, folks. People don't give us enough credit for being the consumers we are. We are consumers. Some are knowledgeable, some not so much. Some people don't care. Now, if you're someone that has money that's disposable and you don't care, oh, here's Hargeet Chani. Welcome, Hargeet, brother. What's going on, dude? I don't know how long you were there. I looked down. I didn't see you before, but hopefully
you haven't been there for a bit, but yeah.
crap. Sorry about that, brother. I was on two different screens. Well, let me give my voice a rest. Hargeet, this was not expected. I am gut punched by
Nope.
this. Again, I think as a general consensus, we could have expected all of the corporations to raise their prices. But if I'm a gambling guy and I don't gamble, I would have lost this bet, because I'd have been like, yeah, Xbox, there's no way Xbox is going to raise their prices first. And when I say first, I don't mean first in the industry, first after what Nintendo did, right? They want new customers. I don't know if they're going to get them because of the price increase. Now, I don't know if Xbox Play Anywhere is in fact going to soften the blow for them in regards to people buying into the ecosystem, because even the Series S has gone up in price by $80, which is it's a lot. So I don't know what's going to happen here. Retro Gamer 89 said, "This is sickening." Indeed, it is, kind sir. Indeed, it is. But Hargeet, listen, apologies for not seeing you there. I just got back to the screen. I have like 3 screens open. It's crazy. This is why I hate working alone, because then again, when I could have had Hargeet like, "Hey, I'm here." I didn't know. But Hargeet, let's get your raw impressions of what just happened, because I think a lot of people like myself are a bit taken aback.
Yeah, I'm guessing this probably is directly on tariffs. I'm guessing that's what this is. It seems in that range, right? But it also gives them an opportunity, even if they can fix it, to say, why are we losing money on these things? They're not selling that well anyway. So whatever we do sell, let's go ahead and make, at least be even, if not lose as much. So, whatever. It's a shitty thing to do. It's not a great idea, especially if you're like in third place as far as console sales. You probably should do something to try to entice customers. However, nothing has worked, to be fair. So I can see it from their perspective as like, well, why bother losing money? They'll try to make a more compelling offering next time. I don't know if this doesn't happen at PlayStation as well, right? Everybody was complaining about $450 for the Nintendo Switch, and I kept saying, seems reasonable for what they're giving you. That's not a bad price. And now you put it in perspective. Yeah, that's not a bad price for what you're getting from them. This might happen to PlayStation as well. We'll see. There's just realities to this. So, if they're not going to move production, it's going to cost. There's going to be an expense of importing those consoles. But the game's going up to $80. This is exactly what we feared, right? The second Nintendo decides that Mario Kart is worth $80. Okay, is Call of Duty not worth $80? So this is what's going to happen. So yeah, sucky. I would expect other publishers are going to do the same. We all know it's going to happen.
Yep.
So it sucks. That's really the part that really kind of stinks. The console price, yeah, that's terrible that it's going up. Accessories, well, yeah, they've been expensive anyway. So my raw opinion, I don't like it at all. However, I understand from just a business perspective, they were not getting anything by taking a hit on the consoles to begin with. So they're like, well, we're not going to take more of a hit. And I guess they have no interest in trying to change the supply chain at this point.
Yep.
So whatever we get for the next gen, we'll see. That might be a totally different story. However, expect that the next gen will be like this. It's going to be expensive.
Yep.
It's going to be expensive. You saw 730, 720, whatever it is for the top end.
$729.99 for the 2 terabyte black console, which I bought for. I was telling everybody I paid $599.99, and I got a lot of smoke. Now, mind you, I had traded in an old console, so I wound up paying only like $200 for it. I traded an old Series X, and I got like Hargeet, I got like 4 and change. I was like, holy shit, I got to trade this in forthwith, and I did, and I only had to pay like $200, which again, for a lot of people, they didn't like it, but at least I didn't pay $599. The question that I have for you, Hargeet, and I'm wondering if there's even an answer for this. So obviously, they're going to want to funnel people. I said this earlier before you got here, that ultimately Xbox is now funneling or forcing people to Game Pass because it's an inherent value that's it's unmatchable. It's currently an unmatchable price. Now, the thing that popped out first from Tom Warren almost immediately was that Game Pass wasn't going up. How long that is, I don't know, but it's not going up. Everything else did. And I think that is a cost and effect kind of a move where we'll raise everything. We won't raise Game Pass. We'll get more cut. Well, that's why they originally thought that they would get 50 million subscribers by end of 2025. And I think they're going to hit it because people are going to see this. But that's the software isn't the problem, Hargeet. The problem is they also raised the prices of consoles. So how are they going to get new players? Like, is somebody on PlayStation going to trade their PlayStation 5 in to go buy a Series X to play Game Pass? I don't know so much about that, dude.
Yeah, I don't know that that's where they're looking for growth. I think what they're looking at is, can we capture people on PC? And then there's the potential, I don't know how well that goes with people who just don't even buy a console, right? Do cloud.
Yeah.
That is an option. I don't know how many people are doing that. But as far as PC, there's an untapped market that they can absolutely continue to grow in, because there's a lot of players there, and that's where they see growth. So I think that's where they're going. This also just pushes people like, dude, do you really want to spend that much, or do you spend like a couple hundred more and
get a PC?
Get a decent PC.
Yeah.
And now you're covered for everything. You get your PlayStation games, you get your Xbox games, you can play your Nintendo games. You get all of everything that's never.
I saw that story the other day. You can get Nintendo games on Xbox Series X right now, by the way.
Yeah. So like, so in other words, it's an all-in-one platform, and maybe that's what they're really doing, is saying, you know what, let's get people used to that. But also just the cost. So I would expect the floor for the next to be $700. The floor of the next gen console is going to be $700. You can just kind of see it
$699.99
from,
to open up. Yeah, I
yeah,
agree.
you can just see it, right? Like, you know, from the console prices you're getting, $700 for the PS5 Pro. Now the top end Xbox is over that. Fair enough that it has the disc drive and the other one does not. Okay, so fine, but still, there's more power in the PS5 Pro, and they're charging about the same. So it's going to be an interesting thing to see where this goes. PS5 Pro hasn't exactly, you know, sold like you know, a firestorm. So I don't know if that's a good thing. It is what it is. They still have the cheapo console with the Series S, even at 380. It's still not a bad deal. However, it's an interesting choice to make to go up in price substantially, and this is here in the U.S.
Yep.
Up to now, these have been we've been insulated by a lot of those. Like the console price increases haven't really come to this side. There's been like the weird, you know, hey, we'll change the PS5 to the PS5 Slim without the disc drive, and it went from 400 for the no disc version to 450. So it technically kind of went up, but it didn't. It was a Slim, so you just gave it to them, fine, whatever, right? So, but here now we have a direct increase in price in the U.S. So here we go. You know, this is it's kind of the way it is. So it's up to them to decide how they want to do this, and this is what they're planning for this gen at least. We'll see what happens for next. I think this is also just a way for them to say, hey, we don't want to take the losses that we take, because what's the point? Why are we paying customers to get an Xbox? It's not working. We're not winning the console war, as it were. It's you know, we're you know, definitely winning the monthly active users, engagement, number of sales of content, and Game Pass is growing. So they're happy there. But as far as like beating Nintendo, maybe even just beating PlayStation, yeah, that wasn't really, you know, going anywhere, right? So they just don't see the point in wasting money on that. I would look at it that way too, at some point, right? But it sucks from a customer perspective, right? From our perspective, this is just stupid. This is just really, really crap, and we should just call it out as that. It's crap. It is just stupid. So, so as a customer, this is an absolute crap note that we just got today. Like, yeah, whatever. This is horrible. I get it from a business perspective, fine, but you know, that doesn't mean anything to me from a consumer perspective. So, you know, whatever. not good news to wake up to today, right? So, like, what the heck is this shit? But
I think
hey,
it stings
whatever.
a little bit more coming off of the show that we had last night, Hargeet, where we were championing and rah in the fact that they had all of these gains.
Yep.
Interestingly enough, you know, one of the first pieces of information from Tom Warren's article was that Xbox Game Pass for PC saw an increase of 45% year over
That's what I told
year.
you. That's what we
So,
expect,
I
the
mean,
growth, right?
yeah. So you're onto something where, you know, again, if you're asking me, right, if you're asking Craig or Boom, same person, folks, by the way. If you're asking me, I'm still buying the console. I'm never buying a PC. I'm just now, hold on. That changes if this hybrid thingamajig that they're going to come out with next year, or not next year, the year after, this hybrid machine is a build your own box Xbox that looks and runs like an Xbox, but is powerful like a PC. And if I want a 5090 in it, I could just spend the money. Yeah, then I guess I become a PC guy that's really not. Like I become a hybrid gamer, because even though it's going to have the power of PC, I'm not messing with it. Like I'm not adding parts to it. I'm not opening it up and saying, hey, I'm throwing in the 6090 now because I want it. No. I just have Dell or Alienware make it, or Lenovo. You know, I let them make it. How much is it? 1,500. Okay, take my money. You know, I got an Xbox that is as powerful as someone's rig. This is awesome. But I'm not going to use it for anything else but play games, right? That's all I want it for anyway. I'm not, again, even if the next Xbox is $799.99 out the gate, man. And I think that it could. I think Hargeet's onto something. That these prices now kind of set that up. They really do.
Yeah. Yeah, that is the future. Unfortunately, that is where we're going to be. And look, I would not be surprised when the next, you know, Sony financials come out that they do the same thing.
Yep.
There's going to be an increase in price. It is what it is. Like, this is how it's going to be. Like, so, unless they can change their supply chain process, which they can. It's up to them. It's up to them to figure that out. We'll see. But this is kind of the way it goes. So
Yeah, again, it's disappointing. I find the price increases across the board egregious at this point. I'm not saying that Xbox needs to lose money for me, but I think that they are. Again, I'm taken aback by this, not because they're not the corporation who we thought that they were. They're a $3 trillion corporation because they do things like this, folks. This is, should I be surprised? Probably not. But it being that it's Xbox, they're usually, Hargeet, one of the last to go. Like, they held out at $60 games for a super long time, as well as offering Xbox Game Pass. Right?
but
They
now
were
they're Activision too, right? And
and now
Activision
they're
did not do that.
no, Activision was the first one to pay. Yeah, you paying? You giving us $70. So again, is
So
Activision a Microsoft Xbox, or is Xbox Activision? I don't know. I don't know what happened, but
they're the biggest chunk, right? Though, like what's 15,000 employees, right? Out of the 20-ish are Activision. So
yeah,
there's gonna be a lot of that in there. But look, I don't know what the range is. They said some games will go to 80. It's just what Nintendo did.
yeah,
We knew that was gonna cause this headache, right? We knew it.
yep.
The second Nintendo decided to do that, we knew it.
Variable pricing, as it's known, not good.
And is anybody now going to be surprised if GTA isn't like 80, 90, or $100? Is
It's gonna be
anybody going
$100.
to be surprised?
Yeah.
Like, that's just what you expect now, right? That's what it's going to be. This is, unfortunately, Nintendo opened that can of worms, and now this is where we're going to be. I wouldn't be surprised if they have the same thing on PlayStation. They'll be like, Intergalactic will be $80 or $90. It's you can't expect Nintendo to do it and then say all these guys that spend way more aren't going to do the same bloody thing. They're gonna do the same thing, right? And so there's unfortunately this was always going to happen. The second somebody decided to set up an $80 game, the rest of the industry is going to do it. Not to excuse it, it's still stupid. It still sucks, but that was what this stupid thing did. We knew it was going to happen. We knew it. It sucks.
Yeah, again, folks, this is breaking news special. I'll be back with C Money at noon. We're going to continue this. Hargeet, I don't know if you have any time. You can join us if you're interested. We're going to get into. Again, I rewrote the show like in my mind. I actually have to put pen to paper when I'm done with this to get ready for at noon, which is an hour and 8 minutes away. We'll be back, but we're going to get into. And again, this is. What's interesting, and I like I said, the more we discuss it openly, the more that it starts to kind of really smell, and not in a good way, about this price increase, is because Jez Corden of Windows Central, and again, I already have this in the show notes for the second show, being I'm making mention of it here, because I'm all about giving credit where credit is due. I'll add this particular story to here. Again, we're not going to get too detailed because we're going to talk about it at noon, but he had just actually did an article before this was announced 5 hours ago. So obviously it was like 5 something in the morning he wrote this. And obviously if he's in the UK, it was a little later. Microsoft, he goes on to say Xbox is now the biggest publisher on PlayStation. And PC Game Pass has hits 45% year-over-year growth. So again, these are massive gains. Think about that for a second, folks. They are the #1 publisher on PlayStation. And you gotta again, I just saying it blatantly, maybe it doesn't hit you in the face like it should. Think about this for a second. I'm gonna break it down into. We're gonna go into more detail at noon, but while I have Hargeet here, hopefully he can come back. Hargeet, just think about this for a second. Xbox is the biggest publisher on PlayStation, and that is after when you consider they have EA, you have Ubisoft, you have 2K. These 3 publishers make bank on PlayStation because PlayStation is the most popular brand. It's where most 85+% are casuals, and they all buy those games to play on that console. And somehow or another in Q3, Xbox becomes the #1 publisher on a PlayStation box. Like, holy shit.
Just to be clear, is it publisher or pre-orders? Because I think there might be something about that. I don't know. I think maybe he said it was
let me see,
#1 for pre-orders. But just to be clear on that, I just want to make sure it's #1 publisher or #1 for pre-orders. And pre-installs or something like that. Because I think that's
There
what
is
Satya might have said.
specific, yeah. Maybe it's worded weird, and maybe that's how they're kind of. I'm trying to look here. You know what? I'll get the exact quote.
We'll get into more like I'll try to join at 12, but yeah, we can just get into more details on that, when we get to.
Yeah, because again, it's a pretty big write up over here, and again, I did have it before. Let me see. Hold on a sec. Let me go into my DMs real quick and pull it up for myself here because I did send it to me. Where am I? Here we go.
But either way, that is a pretty impressive thing for for Xbox to be doing, I suppose, right? Like apparently Xbox games were useless and nobody wanted to play them, and they were mid-ass games, right?
Yeah,
I thought that was the whole story, but apparently not.
No,
apparently those are the games that PlayStation players wanted to buy. So hey, whatever. That the stories are all just kind of dying. But as far as like the price increase, this is going to be a very interesting play. We'll see what that does. I'm kind of expecting the same thing from PlayStation, but we'll see what they do.
Well, I mean, again, I had said the other day live on the air, Hargy, we're going to get out of here in a minute, folks. We'll be back at noon to kind of break this down further. But I had said earlier that I thought for sure that Ghost of Yotai would be the first $80 game for PlayStation. And someone, again, I don't have this confirmed, folks. If you can confirm it for me before we get out of here, or at noon, let me know that it was pre-orderable at $69.99, $70. Yeah. Could they raise it? I don't know. I mean, if they do, people better push back on that or at least reserve your shit now. I mean, but yeah, everyone's going to be raised. The minute Nintendo did this, Hargeet, you were live with me when this happened. We both said it. It's just the dam is cracked. It's going to bust open any second. Well, here we are, folks. 10:56 on a Thursday morning. We're here talking about all these ridiculous price increases for a corporation that just had their best third quarter in the past decade for Xbox. Like, it's very hard to I understand. I don't, to be honest with you, and I'm a bit pissed, to be honest. But you know what, Hargeet, thank you so much for popping in here, brother. I'm gonna send you the link for the other one. Again, if you can be there, awesome. If you can't, don't sweat it. Me and Simon are going to break this down. We are going to have two massive topics, and we're going to get into it. And, of course, we'll open up with the breaking news that happened here. And we got to get C-Money's point of view because, again, he's a businessman as well. He understands, the minutia of what tariffs and, taxes and things do. I want to hear what he has to say. But, Hargeet, again, brother, sell your brand while you're here. Where can people subscribe to your YouTube channel, potentially be one of the near 80,000 people that watched your Gears of War E-Day reveal from last year? And more importantly, where else can people check out your book you released last year called Emergence?
Yeah, so you want to check out my book, shop.chani.us. It's kind of a Mass Effect life story. If you're interested, check it out. My channel is Hargy Chani 1 on YouTube. Check that out if you like. And then, I'll be on, I guess today. We'll check that out. And then tomorrow with C Money and Doodle night shift, 8 p.m. US Eastern Time on Point for Gamers. And then, with Fonz on Saturday, Fonz Gaming, 7 p.m. US Eastern. And then with Web Dave at 7 p.m. US Eastern on Sunday. So awesome. Check those out.
Yeah. Well, Hargeet, again, brother, we'll see you at 12. I'm going to hang back and just read up these super chats over here. And of course, we'll see you in about an hour and 2 minutes. So check your, I'll email you the link momentarily. But thanks so much for joining, brother. Again, always appreciate you popping on and giving your 2 cents because you had a lot of great things to say. And I can't wait to hear further points. Once we get to actual specifics, whether it be the publisher or most I hate when they do stuff like that. Is the most what we have with 10 million hours playing. I don't like any of it. Just be normal with the numbers for Christ's sake. But we'll see you back in an hour, brother. Thank you so much. So, folks, let me just catch up on the super chats while Hargeet steps away, and we will get everyone out of here. I want to thank the near 600 people here. Honestly, this was an impromptu podcast. I try to cover all breaking news, even if that requires me not cleaning, which I was supposed to be doing, and working out, which I will do later on. But I had to cover this, folks, of course. I'm retired, so this is what we do. We have here a $5 super chat from a generous friend of the program, B_nice. I love that, brother. Be nice is great. Appreciate you being here. He drops, ladies and gentlemen, a very generous $5 super chat and says, "Boom. Love your show and your positivity. These prices are ridiculous. These tariffs and inflation may escalate into higher consequences for the world." Look, folks, here's the thing. I know I put myself on Front Street to get made fun of, right? Like when I start talking about eggs and cream cheese and stupid things like that. I know. It's who's to blame? I'm to blame for being stupid. It's fine. Folks, I talk to you as a man who takes adulting super serious. Mrs. Boom works, right? So we have two salaries coming in. But in 2025, it is getting very difficult to have extra money to spend on stuff that's that's not a necessity. Anyone that is like me, and you don't have to be retired, you just be working guy or gal. You understand that the first thing to go is entertainment. Like you try if you are a mom or dad, right? And you try to go to the movies. You want, let's say, for instance, you want to go see um uh Captain America Brave New World. Let's say you took the family out to see that. I love the film, by the way. I love Mackie. Um and you have two sons, two daughters, or one of each. The wife, yourself, you go out, and that's a near $200 day. Uh you just stay home and go over to Dollar Tree and buy a bunch of treats and some popcorn, and you can do that at home. You wait for it to come on video, which a lot of people are doing. I don't go to theater. I don't go to the theater as much, and when I do, I'm not going to front, folks. I bring my own shit because I'm not paying $7 for freaking M&Ms. I'm just not doing that, man. F that. But this is the reality that Be Nice is talking about. Like this is these tariffs that everyone thought was not going to be a problem. It's obviously a freaking problem. And it's not a problem that I'm going to look past. I'm going to give Microsoft the smoke. But like I said, the only saving grace for Microsoft, for me, is the fact they didn't raise Game Pass. I hope that they leave it that way and they ultimately funnel people into the service, because quite frankly, the service is the best in the business. It really is. And after today's price increase, which really does, I mean, the dam was cracked, ladies and gentlemen. Now it is imploded. It is just gushing water, and that's just what it is. The rest of the industry is going to get in line. House Flan, generous friend of the program, who's been a channel member, my God, brother, for almost 2 years. And again, in the world that we're living in, any super chat, any channel member chat, anybody that supports the channel, it's incredibly so nice of you to do that. We really do appreciate it. He says, I wonder how much of this is tariff based. Hell, even some companies not affected will use the tariffs as an excuse to raise prices. Brother, you are not wrong with that. I think you're onto something, and it's gross. Some people, again, I don't know what tariffs have to do with game development personally. And again, I'm not a developer, folks. I don't think anything, but game development has increased. People's salaries go up, insurance goes up, everything is going up. So, of course, what happens to the poor consumer, i.e., me and you? We have to take the brunt of it. And right now, the only place that's giving you more value than your dollar that you're spending is Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. Especially, again, if you're a PC dude or dudette, you're winning because you're paying a lot cheaper for your ultimate price, and you're not paying for online. You're winning if you're a PC gamer. We have two super chats here by Gamer Live Studio. Brother, well, thank you so much for the outstanding generosity. Appreciate you being here. Gamer Live Studio says, I love Xbox games, but this is why I sold my Xbox, my Xbox One console, and moved over to PC with Game Pass and Steam sales to save on money. Brother, that's ingenious. That's a good consumer, ladies and gentlemen, right there on display. He sold his Xbox, he plays on PC, and now he's winning. Steam sales are great, especially when you can get like 19 games for a penny. That's always awesome for them. And of course, Xbox Game Pass is cheaper on PC. I think this is why they saw a 45% year-over-year growth, because look, you're going to have dinosaurs, which is what I consider myself. I'm a Neanderthal, folks. I just want to play on console. Does that make me a monster? No. But it makes me an old man? Yes. I'm not a PC guy. Again, this is why I think the next Xbox is going to be this hybrid beast, but it's going to be expensive, and I'm here for it. His second $5 super chat, Gamer Live Studio, goes on to say, pick up and choose your games wisely. Don't follow the sheep. Do you vote with your wallet? I'm telling y'all right now, to get a PC, don't wait, invest. And basically, he's saying, don't fall for the banana in the tailpipe. Of course, if you're an Eddie Murphy fan or a Beverly Hills Cop fan like I am, you appreciate that. Brother, thank you so much for the generosity. We have Chris in the chat, drops a very generous $5 super chat. And Chris goes on to say, does every game go to $80? It didn't say that. It said select games. But here's the problem with that, Chris. And I will read the rest of your super chat. The problem is the terminology, I think, is frightening. And everyone should be concerned with is variable pricing. So if a game, like for instance, Fable, right? Fable, been in development for years. It probably had a $200 or $300 million budget, right? And I don't know for sure. I'm not a developer. I'm not in the room with these people. So I'm taking a blind stab at it, Chris. If it's a $300 million game to make and it's on Game Pass, you can bet your ass it's $80 because they're going to want to make the money back on people that are going to pay for it. Again, the investment into the game versus the Game Pass scenario, I don't know how many subs they have to have for it to make sense. That's for the numbers people, the bean counters. But I can guarantee you games like that, games like Perfect Dark, games like Call of Duty almost automatically, all of these games, all these big games, they're going to, Forza Horizon 6, $80, no doubt about it. Chris goes on to say, we literally just had a week of incredible popular $50 games. They really need to justify $80 after that. Brother, that's a fantastic point. Expedition 33, $50. Oblivion, $200 game remake on Unreal Engine 5, $50. Again, people are going to have to wait for sales. I think you're going to see a new trend with people waiting. We have Hooks in the chat. Hooks drops a very generous $5 super chat. Hooks goes on to say, purchasing a PC and a Game Pass subscription seems to be the way to go these days with these price increases. I moved to PC in January of 2024, and he considers it an excellent decision. Brother, I'm right there with you. I think it was an excellent decision because you are definitely winning. Captain Chats in the chat. Brother, he drops a very generous £5 super chat. He goes on to say, console gaming is so unattractive now. For a little more, PC looks way better. Brother, that's a great statement. I think you're onto something there. Our generous friend of the channel, Freddie Fox, drops a very generous $2 super chat. Freddie goes on to say, I'd pay $80 for Fable, then a cartoony Zelda game. I mean, yeah, I mean, you're going to get real life graphics, right? That's what all Xbox gamers have been asking for. But I'm not going to lie, Freddie. I will raise my hand shamefully and pay $80 for the next Zelda. Because I love Link, I love Zelda, I love the world. Ganon, I wish they would just kill his ass already. But yeah, look, cartoons or not, I don't like paying $80 for anything. And I'm going to be very selective, being a retired guy, on what I actually buy moving forward. That's not on sale. Lastly, here, actually, we have two super chats. We have first of all, Jay Rambert in the chat. Rambert, thank you so much, Jay, for being here as always and supporting the channel. He's been a channel member for a whopping 5 months. Brother, that is very generous of you, especially in the times that we're living in. He says, I have to bring up politics, but elections have consequences. Indeed, they do, sir. Indeed, they do. Thank you, Jay, for always being here, brother, and thank you so much for the support. Wolf of Darkness, kind sir, listen, folks, if you're not following Wolf of Darkness, you got to follow this guy on the socials. He is consistently out there grinding the gears and putting out good pieces of information. Well, he drops, ladies and gentlemen, what I believe to be a $25 super chat. Brother, that is just ridiculous. Thank you so much for the outstanding super chat, brother. He says, yo, boom, epic show. Thank you, kind sir. 2025 tariffs up 24% on electronics. Hit Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo hard. Game Pass wins big. Best save as inflation soars. All gamers will join. Microsoft boost Xbox Game Pass games now, best ever. Yeah, I mean, and ultimately, this is one of those situations where I know some people, and I'm telling you, folks, I haven't seen it yet, but I believe you're going to see people that are going to be like, I feel like I'm being forced to Game Pass. Now, no one's going to twist your arm to get it, but there is something to be said about you wanting to play the newest games. And if you are okay, so if you're a black hole gamer, meaning that you're okay with Call of Duty Warzone, if you're okay with Fortnite and Apex Legends, and that's your bag, then this really doesn't affect you. I don't think so. At least maybe they go up in peripheral price. I mean, costume prices for the characters. I hope not. But if you are like me, who likes to game on multiple consoles and play everything, this absolutely affects you. And if you're not subscribed to Game Pass, especially considering how big Microsoft as a corporation has gotten with their first party for Xbox, it's hard to argue. It's definitely hard to argue. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say a big thank you once again to hanging out with me here. I'm going to take a 50-minute break to kind of get my voice back. I'll be back at 12. Hargeet's going to join us. We'll see if we can get one or two other people because this is a big story. We're going to get into it. I'm going to see if I can get the actual clarification of biggest publisher on PlayStation versus the most pre-ordered or the most downloaded. I think I really hate when they do that shit. I will get the clarification, but needless to say, people on PlayStation are buying Xbox games. We will break all of that down momentarily. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for all the super chats and the channel member chats. Mrs. Boom and I are really, truly thankful for your generosity. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you in, well, about 50 minutes. Take care, everyone. Thanks again for tuning in. Love you all.